keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, topics, stipulations, first downplayed it. Presenting topics from Kanye to Tom Brady. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. A couple days away from Christmas Day, and talking as sports fans, especially football fans, man, fans, you got to be excited. I know our team specifically hasn't had the year we're expecting. It is what it is. But if you're a football fan, what a great weekend. The next 2 weekends, boy, oh boy, a lot of fun going to happen. Division games, division titles, still TBD. And also, we're talking some New York baseball as well. We're going to talk Gerrit Cole, the press conference. What's going on with the Red Sox? Why have they been so quiet? No moves. What's the rumors about Lindor? And then we're talking some NBA. Giannis, is he the most dominant player in the NBA right now? Think about that. Because last night, maybe that proves to all the naysayers. There's still some naysayers about him. But like I said, we're starting off with the NFL. And last week, we talked about culture and specifically with baseball too. We talked about how much are you willing to go to be great. And I'm going to start off in the NFC East. As for most people want to call it the NFC least this year. But the Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott. We know what this game means for both teams, coaches, players, and these quarterbacks. And I said last week with the New York Yankees specifically, and how people have bashed them for the contract and how much are you willing to go to be great. And I say that because Dak Prescott is dealing with something. And me and Dak Prescott have something in common. We both have the same injury. You had an AC joint as well? You had multiple injuries.
No, I did not. I had the first one. I had the AC joint.
So
the doctor told me I was supposed to sit out for 5 weeks.
We both had something in common with Dak Prescott. It's an AC joint. And I said last week what the Yankee thing specifically is, how much were they willing to go to get Gerrit Cole and spend? You know what they did. Now, Dak Prescott, this is an injury that you can't take lightly. I still have nights that make me uncomfortable to go to bed because of this injury.
You sure it's that injury?
Yes, it's the AC joint. My point is Dak Prescott, he's not missing this game. Do you know how the importance of this game is to both Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott? And everybody wants to just say, oh, well, the pressure's on Dak Prescott. I think the pressure to me is Carson Wentz. Because, yes, he's gotten paid. We get that. And Dak hasn't. But Carson Wentz, give me a time where he's played in a big game, a must-win game. He's got Nick Foles, the shadow of Nick Foles, the legend of Nick Foles in Philadelphia. Nick Foles will forever be a legend. And Philly fans will forever have thanked him for winning him a Super Bowl. Carson Wentz, yeah, he was part of the team. But also, he got injured. We haven't seen Carson Wentz win a meaningful game in this league. Ted, I know you have kind of went with the Dak and saying that he needs this game more. But if you really think about it, is Dak Prescott the one that needs it more than Carson Wentz?
I was thinking about this. I don't have an ideal answer for this because you can make the argument and be right on both accounts.
Yep.
Okay, you said it perfectly. Carson Wentz, what big game has he really been involved in? You know what I mean? We talk about playoffs. He's never played in a playoff game. So for his career, this is his biggest game so far as the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. Mm-hmm. He hasn't had a big game. Nick Foles played in the postseason games. It wasn't Carson Wentz. And there hasn't been a game this meaningful at this point in time in the season where Carson Wentz has played in. And then you look at and then here's the thing. He's gotten paid. So yeah, to a lot of people's perspective, it's let's prove that you're worth the money. These are games that we pay you this type of money that you're supposed to win, right? And he hasn't won these games. And if he loses to Dak Prescott, the naysayers can be like, listen, I know you're talented. If we were starting a fantasy football team or starting a regular football team, hell with fantasy. If we're starting a real franchise, I think majority of the people would still take Carson Wentz over Dak Prescott. But let's look at from the other's perspective now. Dak Prescott has played at a Pro Bowl caliber level this year. His best statistical year. He's actually outplayed Carson Wentz statistically this season. But there's the people from the other side you got to look at. Well, Dak plays with a great offensive line. He's a running game. He's a game manager. A lot of people look at him like, hey, he's still not that good of a quarterback. And if you were taking the two quarterbacks, if this, like we always joke about, if this was a kickball of talent, who would you rather take? You would take Carson Wentz over Dak. And this is a proven game for Dak because he hasn't got paid, like you said. And if he loses, right, and the Dallas Cowboys don't make the playoffs again or don't make the playoffs this year, it's going to back up the people's naysayers on the Cowboys side and saying, listen, maybe he isn't worth the money that he thinks he's expected to be paid for.
Yes.
I can't make it. You asked me the question.
Kind of like
who do you think? Hold on. You asked me the question. Who do you think who's more pressure? I don't have the answer. If I had to make a majority, you said, Ted, make a legit. I would go 51% Dak over Wentz, only because of the one factor that it's the Dallas Cowboys, and we talked about this last week with culture. The Dallas Cowboys culture. What we've known to see is a good team, very talented, but can't win the big games, and they don't. And Dak's not worth. He's not good enough. And this team, Dallas Cowboys, are the more talented team. They're the healthier team. They're the better team. They're the team that should win this game. Will they win the game is the bigger question, and will Dak be the difference?
So the past couple of years, for Philly fans specifically and the Eagles, this is new because Carson Wentz, like I said, has been out during this time. Last year was Nick Foles leading his team to the playoffs. 2 years ago, Nick Foles led his team to a Super Bowl. So Carson Wentz, what do you got to show for me? Because right now, we know how talented he is. That's all we ever heard. That's all we've been hearing now. Oh, is Carson Wentz one of the most talented quarterbacks? We get that. He's talented. We get it. But when it comes down to it, talent is only one thing. You have to win in this league. I don't care how talented you are. It does not matter. It comes down to winning in this league. And recently, you haven't been able to win against this Dallas Cowboy team. You haven't been able to beat Dak Prescott.
He is 2-4 against the Dallas Cowboys in his career. Dak is 4-2. They've won the last 3 straight. The Cowboys against the Eagles. They have dominated this series of recently. They've been the more dominant team. Dallas in the beginning of the season, when they played the Eagles, they dominated them. They had the better team, the more healthier team, the more talented team. They have the better running back. They have the better offensive line. They have better receivers. Everything is in Dallas's favor to win this game.
And that's why it makes it even worse for Dallas if
they lose.
If they lose this game. Because of the factor that all signs point to, if you were a betting man, you're taking Dallas. If you're picking them straight on the field, you're taking Dallas over Philly. It's that plain and simple. Philly's destroyed with injuries right now. They're going to have their 3rd and 4th string receivers going in as starters. Carson Wentz doesn't have a lot to play with right now. But if you think about it, that's how it happens. If you're one of the great quarterbacks in this league, stuff like this happens. Scenarios are going to happen like this. It ain't all green on the other side of the grass. That's how it works.
Great quarterbacks are able to overcome these. We've talked about.
Now, I know quarterbacks, hold on, but you do say quarterbacks do overcome it that to a certain extent.
Well,
but Carson Wentz the past 2 weeks, yes, I know he's played against the Giants and the Redskins. We know that. But still, you have to win those games. Carson Wentz, when dealing with adversity throughout those games, he's come back and he's proven to be the answer, the ultimate example of why they won those games. And I think this team is really feeding off of Carson Wentz. But you just look at these quarterbacks, both of them. Coming in, Dak Prescott, we know the story. Carson Wentz, we know the story. We get it. Now there's no excuses anymore. That's what it comes down to. If the Dallas Cowboys lose the game, there's no more excuses. Jason Garrett should be gone. The moment when it goes 0-0 and the Philadelphia Eagles, if they win this game, Jason Garrett should not be allowed on the plane anymore. Jerry Jones should say, give me the keys. You're done. Have fun finding another job. Because all signs point to the Dallas Cowboys winning this game. They are the more talented team. They have the least amount of injuries of the two. But it just comes down to the quarterback. Which quarterback is going to make the play? And we know Dak Prescott is dealing with an injury right now, and a serious injury. And he's willing, you know what? And that's why I give him credit, because this is an injury that me and you have both dealt with.
Yeah, but
in high school.
You can play through it.
You can play through it.
But here's the thing: we were not the quarterbacks. You got to throw the football.
You were a quarterback.
We were the option team, and we were running.
But
the
you
football.
were a quarterback still.
But it's different. This is his throwing arm. This is his right shoulder. He got hurt early in against the Rams in the first quarter. He's never missed a practice as a player. He's never missed a game since he's entered the NFL league. Mm-hmm. Now, I was just looking at a little quick stat. On throws of at least 15 yards downfield, Dak Prescott has been among the league leaders in completion percentage and yards per attempt and touchdowns. He's been more efficient this year. Now, remember what I said to you at the breakfast table this morning when we were leaving? I said, I thought this injury might be the best case scenario for the Dallas Cowboys. And you're like, why, Ted? What do you say? Listen, I said, if the Dallas Cowboys are going to win this game, they have to do what they did last week against the Los Angeles. I was going to say.
Yeah,
Los Angeles Rams, and that's running the football. When they were great last week, and they looked like the team that everyone had perceived that they were going to be this season, was they ran the ball 45 times. They ran the ball for over 150 yards. They had multiple touchdowns. Zeke touched the ball 25 times. They used Tony Pollard. Dallas Cowboys this year, for the most part, have been trying to pass first, run second. When they were great, when Dak was a rookie, it was run first with Zeke, play action pass. When they were 13-3, it was more, let's run the football. It's like this year they're trying to make a point to make Dak look like, hey, listen, he's worth the money.
And I'm glad you brought that up.
And I think
glad you brought that up.
And I'm just saying,
a couple weeks ago, I did bring that point up that the Dallas Cowboys, why are they throwing the ball so much? Because they are trying to prove a point.
Well, we perceive
they are trying to prove a point in the sense of, hey, if we're going to pay a man, a guy, a quarterback, that's going to be 30 to 35 to maybe even 40 million a year, well, we got to give him the ball. We got to make him go out and make plays. And I was talking to you about, and I know what you said, when Dallas was great in the past couple of years, is because they ran the ball, they were run first. And this weekend is, you want to know, for all the people that want to say, oh, how does a running back get paid? This is where Zeke's money shows up.
That was good.
This is where Zeke's money comes into play. The $90 million contract that he just got bit, and was it $45 million guaranteed, I believe, or $50 million, something like that to the extent. This is where he gets paid. It's moments like this, it's games like this, that why 2-1 has to be, not Dak Prescott.
Has to be their best player.
Not Dak Prescott. He has to be the reason why the Dallas Cowboys have to be successful come Sunday afternoon.
Everything is going to be built off of him.
And this week specifically has to. In other weeks, it's been that. This majority of the season, it seems like it's Dak first, then Zeke. Not this week. If you're trying to force your quarterback, knowing that he has a bad arm, and that's going to be on the coaches then, you need to feed your 3-down back, your workhorse, your best player on offense, the ball. Your $90 million man, you have to give him the ball. You have to feed him. Because I don't care if that's 25 carries, you have to give him at least the ball 30 times touches in this game.
Because here's the importance of this game too. Dallas wins, the division's over. They can rest their players next week against Washington. Mm-hmm. It almost becomes a Week 17 bye, which will give them an advantage going into the wild card. Dak can rest, Zeke can rest, because the Eagles can't win out. Now, if the Eagles win this week, now Dallas still has a chance. The Giants would have to beat the Eagles, which is probably unlikely because the Eagles know that. But there's still an opportunity. But we know that if Dallas loses this game, it'd be dreadful. It would be devastation.
And it
would probably be one of the worst losses we've seen this season, because the significance. It's not because it's a bad loss because It's not like you're playing a 2-10 team. It's the significance. It's for the division. This is like your play-in game. This is like your wild card play-in game.
I said
like
that
in
to you. You
baseball.
said no. I said this is a pre-playoff matchup already.
And to think 2 7-7 teams is the most impactful game this weekend. It is. And because it's the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's the division rival, and it's Wentz and it's Dak. And we saw one of them, guys. It is true. One of Wentz's wins was against a Dallas team that was resting their starters, knowing they were in the playoffs. So good point. Dak has played well in these games, and so has Wentz. Wentz has completed over 66% of his passes in these games for over 1,400 yards. He's had 11 touchdowns and 2 picks when he's played Dallas in those 6 games. His big thing has been fumbles this year. He needs not to turn the ball over. He has to play A+ because his team doesn't have the same amount of weapons and will not be able to come
especially this
they
week.
will not be able to overcome deficiencies like the Cowboys have because they are healthier and they have the better team going forward.
Now, in general, we're starting with this game because, like I said, this is probably to most fans the biggest game of the week. But this in general weekend is a proven weekend to some quarterbacks. And there's another quarterback. And first I want to ask, who do you got? Do you got Dallas or you got Philly? I'm going to go with Philly. I'm rooting for Philly. This is always a this is always the toughest
Giant fan.
This is always the toughest game to pick. Because
you're a Giant fan. I hate both teams.
I don't like either team. I hate both teams. But I hate Dallas more than I hate Philly. I'm going to go with Philly. Even with the depleted secondary, even with their depleted receiving core, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles because I do believe that Carson Wentz and I do believe that Dak Prescott's injury is going to play a factor.
I am going to give you the PC answer. Who I want to see is the Eagles, but who I believe is going to win because they are the better team is the Dallas Cowboys.
I don't care about that. I'm going to pick the Eagles. I don't care what happens. I'm picking the Eagles. I'm going to stick with
Dallas is the better team.
But everybody knows that. That's the thing.
Eagles can't stop anyone in the passing game.
No, that's
okay.
All signs point.
And every time they play Zeke, they can't stop Zeke in the running game.
All signs point to Dallas beating them comfortably. That's another thing. It's not like this could come down. This shouldn't be a close game.
Dallas is a 1.5 point favorite, which means if Dallas was home, they'd be a 5-point favorite because you get 3 points at home. Listen, they want you to take Dallas in this game.
I said that too.
Vegas does.
They do.
This is a pick 'em, but Dallas should win this game. Will they?
So for everybody that says Dak has something to prove, let's not forget about Carson Wentz because yes, he's got the contract. We know that. We understand that. But when's the last time Carson Wentz has played in a big game in the NFL? I'll give you an answer. Never. I'll give you an answer. Never. That's why this game is the biggest game in Carson Wentz's career.
Up to this point.
And it's the biggest game, yes, up to this point, for Dak Prescott. And you said it this morning. Oh, well, what about the divisional game against – he was a rookie. That was different. He's been in the year now, a couple years in the league now. So he's grown. He's gotten better. This is a statement game for him because guess what? Now it's time. You want your contract? Moments like this are why you're going to get your contract or why you're not going to get the contract you want. Plain and simple.
Hey, Chuck, what are you wearing today?
Oh, speaking of the devil, yes. If you got the chance to see, and we posted it yesterday, new hoodies. We're going to be displaying them out. Blue and black are the colors. They're going to be $30. If you want some, message us if you're interested as well. So this is new equipment. Very nice. It's a very nice hoodie. It's very
comfortable
nice.
Too.
Of course it is. Gonna need it for this type of weather. But I was just talking about in general with these two quarterbacks. But it's this whole weekend. This is a proven weekend for some teams and some quarterbacks. And that other quarterback that we like to talk about, and it's very similar to Carson Wentz. Yeah, he's gotten paid. He made his money. But guess what? When's the last time he's won a meaningful game? I'll tell you. Never. And that's Kirk Cousins. It's plain and simple. Kirk Cousins. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago with him. We've been talking about him since he's had this big contract. It's moments like this why guys get these big contracts. The Vikings felt 2 years ago, or last year, they felt like this was the missing piece to them contending for a Super Bowl or even winning a Super Bowl championship. We know what happened last year. They didn't make the playoffs. Well, guess what, Kirk Cousins? You can redeem yourself to all the Vikings fans, to all the NFL naysayers like myself that say you are not a quarterback, a franchise quarterback that can win you a Super Bowl. It starts on Monday night. That's what it comes down to. It starts on Monday night. Now, Aaron Rodgers, we know what Aaron Rodgers is. He's done it before. He's won a Super Bowl. I know it seems like he's taken a step back, but he is still the great Aaron Rodgers. Kirk Cousins is like the Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz debate as well. Because when you're getting paid $84 million, fully guaranteed, and you want to be in the term of franchise quarterback, you have to win games like this. And guess what? If it doesn't make it any more clear, your number one weapon is likely out on Monday night, Dalvin Cook. So you know that if you lose this game again, what are we going to be hearing come Tuesday morning? Is it time for the Vikings to move on? Ted, I know that Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz have been the talk of the sport of the NFL world, it seems like this week. But are we all forgetting about Kirk Cousins all of a sudden? That like, oh, he's played good. He's done well this year. He's taken a step forward in the right direction. Yeah, as Stone Cold Steve Austin once said. Nah, doesn't work like that. That's great all in all. But it comes down to games like a Monday night where you're 10-4 and you're fighting for a chance to win your division against the Green Bay Packers. And what has Kirk Cousins been able to do for you? Yeah, he's a nice stat guy, but that's all he's been. If Kirk Cousins really wants to prove himself to be that $84 million quarterback, he has to win, plain and simple, come Monday night. He has to be the better quarterback as well.
Well, you know, it's funny when you say that, Monday Night Football. Do you know Kirk Cousins is 0-8 on Monday Night Football?
I think it's 0-9 now because he lost to Seattle.
No, 0-8. I got it right in front of me.
It's updated?
He's 0-8.
Okay.
Do you also know Aaron Rodgers has won his last 5 straight on Monday Night Football? Listen, we know the story about Aaron Rodgers. The story has pretty much been told. He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time, talent-wise.
Yes.
I'd love to see him win another Super Bowl to solidify himself in that category. A lot of guys have one Super Bowl, but can you get 2 Super Bowls? You know, can you get to that second one? You know, that's significant because now you put yourself in a different category.
Yep.
We know he's got great numbers. He always has great numbers. He's not a high-risk guy. You know what I mean? Like, he'll just take the ball, throw it away instead of forcing it and throwing a pick. Like, that's why a lot of times they'll say he won't throw a Hail Mary late in the game because he doesn't want to pick. He won't want to pick. You look at his numbers, he's got 2 picks this year. Every year it seems like he's got 3, 2, 4 picks. You know, it's under 5. It's unheard of. Mm-hmm. What did you say before? 24 touchdowns.
He's smart. He's smart.
He's got
with the ball.
3,500 yards, but he hasn't seemed to play as Aaron Rodgers-esque football this season. And I think this is a game where we need to see Aaron Rodgers play an Aaron Rodgers-esque game because the Vikings have the better team. They have the more talented team. If I was loading up a roster, the Vikings have a better team. They have better tight ends, better wide receivers, better offensive line, better defensive line. I like the running back crew. The only thing that the Green Bay Packers I like better is their quarterback. I like the Vikings secondary better. Linebackers, as a whole, the Vikings have one of the best rosters, rosters in all of the NFL.
You just said it.
But the quarterback,
that's what it comes down to.
Now, Kirk Cousins has played great of lately. Maybe great isn't maybe the wrong word because a lot of people say, he hasn't been that great. He's been good enough, and how do we solidify great? How do we figure out what great is? What is great to you?
To me? Are you asking me that question? I'll tell you.
No, I'm asking out loud.
No, I'll tell you though. And it's pretty much look. Yeah, he has great stats at the end of the year. It looks all nice to many people. But you make your money and your legacy. That's what happens when you talk about legacy. When we talk about guys like Brady, we talk about guys like Peyton, we talk about guys like Eli. We always remember Eli for the 2 Super Bowls and what he did in the big moments. Take whatever you want else about all the bad. That's fine. But when it came down to it, we always remember Eli for the Super Bowls and the clutch moments. Kirk Cousins has better stats than Eli, it seems like, for the past couple years. But we'll always remember Eli for Super Bowls. Whereas Kirk Cousins, what are we going to remember him for? That's what it comes down to. If you want to find a guy that it's all about greatness, if you want to talk about what's the definition of greatness, it comes down to what do you do when your team needs you the most? When your city needs you the most? Your franchise needs you in moments like this, in games like this. You can't go MIA in moments like this. You can have all the greatest stats in the world. That's fine. Okay? That is fine. But when you're losing games to Seattle or Green Bay or Chicago last year or even Green Bay in the playoff game a couple years back when you were at Washington, meaningful games. And what did you do? You faltered. You blew it. That's legacy to me. I know what Kirk Cousins is. I know because of what he has been. What he's been in the past. So what makes you say, or what makes you think that something on Monday night is going to be different? You just said it, Ted. He's 0-8 in primetime games. Aaron Rodgers has won the last 5 straight. What makes you think that Monday night's going to be any different, knowing that 33 is not going to be in the backfield as well? What makes it any different? That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, last week when they had Mike Boone in there, he had 2 touchdowns and 86 yards. It was like they never missed a step when Dalvin Cook was out last week. And and that's a Chargers defense. I know people make excuses. They're not as great, whatever, but they didn't miss a step. Yeah. They also got Alexander Madison, who, if you don't have him in fantasy, you might want to pick him up this week. Also with Mike Boone.
Yeah, so, for your fantasy championship.
And this is a huge week for a lot of fantasy people because
it's fantasy championship.
Because it's fantasy championship week for a lot of people. Yep. And if you're still playing, congratulations.
Yeah.
Listen, Kirk Cousins has to just be efficient this weekend. Okay? He has to play his game. He doesn't have to be great. He doesn't have to outplay Aaron Rodgers. This is not a one-on-one matchup. But he has to be efficient. He can't turn the ball over. They got the better team.
So you don't think he needs to be great then? Is that what you're telling me? He doesn't need to be great to win this game on Monday night?
I will make it this way. It's like the Dak thing. You don't have to be great to win. You don't want to cost your team victories. Remember like the Eli thing? It was like, listen, be efficient on 3rd down. Don't make mistakes. And when you need to make the throw, make the throw.
But also with Eli, when it mattered most,
that's what I'm saying.
He made the big plays.
There might be 2 or 3 throws in a game where you got to make, don't miss them.
But also, not even the plays, it was the games. When we needed Eli the most in the big games, he came up clutch. It's one of the greatest things about Eli Manning. Everybody wants to bash Eli, but guess what? We know Kirk Cousins probably will have better stats. But in the big games, you're taking Eli because he came through in the clutch for you. Kirk Cousins doesn't come through in the clutch. That efficient throw that you just said, he's got to be efficient. He's got to make the right throw. Well, guess what? That one throw sometimes is the wrong decision, and he needs to make the best decision for his team. And with losing Dalvin Cook, that just puts, I think, more pressure on Kirk Cousins.
And this game has so much significance. So, we talked about the Dallas Eagles game, and everyone else seems to be all over this game. But this might be more important game because for 2 factors. One, for Kirk Cousins' future and for the Vikings' future. Because if he can win a significant game like this on Monday Night Football and beat the Packers, not only for his confidence going forward, this is going to give the Vikings fans and the Vikings teammates confidence going forward in the playoffs that when they go, all right, we got to face them again, or we got to face someone significant, you can win us that game. You just showed us. I know your record in the past has proven that you haven't, but it's not what you did in the past. It's what you can do now and toward the future, okay? Peyton Manning was like, I can't win the big game, or John Elway. Remember, can't win the big one. Well, they finally got over the hump, and they did, and they won a Super Bowl. So Kirk Cousins, I'm not saying he is those guys, but this team has the opportunity to win a Super Bowl. That's how talented this team is. They will have Adam Thielen back this week. They have Stephon Diggs. They have Irv Smith Jr., the tight end they drafted at Alabama. They also have Kyle Rudolph. And they have 3 running backs that when Dalvin Cook comes back in the playoffs, they will be healthy and they will have a three-headed monster. Yep. They also have a great defense with a shutdown corner. They have a pass rusher. They have linebackers. They have a coach and a defensive mindset. Can that quarterback take them over the hump? And will he be efficient enough? And the other thing is, I was going to make the second point to this was, if you win this game, you become the division leader. You get the home game. You control your own destiny. You become the home game, and who knows? I don't have the playoff scenarios in front of me, but is there an opportunity for them to get a 2 seed and get that bye? I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying it sets up for a brighter future. You don't have to be on the road as the wild card team in the first round. You will get that home game. You will have it at the Dome Stadium, which is a more of an advantage. You don't have to, if there's a rematch, you don't have to go to Green Bay in negative 10 degrees in January. Guess what? Aaron Rodgers has to come to the Dome, and they have to beat you again. I'm just saying, to me, this is a confidence boost for the Vikings. This is a more meaningful game for Kirk Cousins. The Vikings going to me because for me, we don't believe that the Vikings are good enough. That's been the story with them.
Here's me, plain and simple. The Minnesota Vikings lose on Monday night. This is an $84 million robbery. That's it. Kirk Cousins got his money. But the Minnesota Vikings go back to the drawing board then. Plain and simple. It's not that hard. If Kirk Cousins loses this game, I don't care. Yeah, he'll get into the playoffs. But like Ted just said, what does that mean? You might have to go to New Orleans. You might have to go to the Lambeau Field. What does that mean? It means you're just going to the playoffs for 1 week. What is that different from, the Giants or one of these bad teams, the Jaguars? Oh, congratulations. Yeah, you didn't make the playoff. Oh, well, that's fine. We'll see you 1 week later. What does that mean? When you're as talented as a team like the Minnesota Vikings, you're expected to be great. You're expected to compete for championships. And that's where the Minnesota Vikings are right now. They're in that position. But it comes down to what Kirk Cousins does on Monday night. And if he fails again, he fails Minnesota. And it will be the $84 million robbery. Plain and simple. And then we'll just go to the same old trait that we like to call Kirk Cousins. A guy that'll never win the big one. A guy that you don't want to have one of those big moments. Prove me wrong, Kirk Cousins. Prove me wrong. Because it's a prove it time. This is where you make your money. This is where your legacy grows. It's not in September. It's not in October. It's in December. It's in November, late November, and December. That's where you make your money. That's where you put your name in the legacy books. It's plain and simple. That's how you get remembered in this league. And Kirk Cousins, you have a golden opportunity. It's staring you right in the face. I'm going with the Packers. I'm going with the Packers. I buy into what Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are doing. This team, yes, is less talented, but I take my chances with 12 over Kirk Cousins. Who do you got? You got the Vikings or you got the Packers?
Got the Vikings.
Okay, sounds good. And you picked the Cowboys? All right. I'm picking the two teams that have the lesser talent. And talking about these four teams, the NFC picture as a whole, I was just looking through the past couple years, 5-6 years, of what the NFC has been. I haven't seen an NFC like this in my lifetime. I mean, we're talking about a Minnesota team that right now is currently in 6th place
at 10-4.
At 10-4, and they still have a shot. 2 weeks left in the NFL season to get a top 2 seed. There's 5 teams fighting for a top 2 seed right now.
Here's the thing.
It's fascinating to see what's happening in the NFC right now.
Here's the thing. The Packers, if they lose this week, right, they would be 11-4. They win the final game of the season, they'll be 12-4, would be a wild card team.
Yeah, what seed? They could be the 6th seed as a 12.
Think about this.
12,
both
team.
Wild card teams, whatever it is in the West, the 49ers, Seattle game, and if, God forbid, Green Bay loses this week, both wild card teams can both be 12-4. And think about that for a second. Just historically, if the 49ers win this week and lose to Seattle and Seattle gets the number 1 seed, the 49ers will finish 12-4. The Green Bay Packers, if they lose this week to the Vikings and then win the final week, they will be 12-4. To think that your wild card teams are 12-4 is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It's fascinating. It is fascinating to see what's happening in the NFC right now. And that's why I said, I know Christmas is a couple days from now. But boy, oh boy, the next 2 weeks feel like 2 weeks of Christmas. Because there's so many great, and there's so many meaningful games still left. I mean, we only have 3 divisions wrapped up right now. Usually by this time, there's like one division still up for grabs. There's still so much unknown with 2, and I'm not even talking.
Here's the first.
Hold on, I'm not even talking about the NFC right now, Ted. I'm just talking about the whole NFL landscape.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, think about this. The AFC
still.
East usually by now has been shored up for the last 3 weeks.
Yes.
To be in Week 16 and think about the Bills-Patriots game this Saturday at 4:30 has not only playoff implications, but divisional playoff implications is mind-blowing because we're at this point in another, we're like, Patriots got the number 1 seed. They're usually resting the week 16 and 17. You know, they play, they win, but you know, like they're usually by far head and shoulders above their division rival. But to see that the Bills this week have an opportunity to win the division is incredible, and I think it's great.
To see that the Tennessee Titans,
how could it not be great?
To see that Tennessee Titans could be from a wild card team to the division winner right now in a matter of 2 weeks. To see that the Pittsburgh Steelers could be in the playoffs right now and be out of the playoffs next week. It's fascinating. Like you just said it too as well in the NFC. To think that the Green Bay Packers or the San Francisco 49ers or Vikings or Seahawks could be 11 or 12 win teams and are going to be wild card teams is fascinating right now. There's 2 weeks left and there's still so much unknown in the NFL currently. And we just said it, the AFC East could be the best of to that point, is that the AFC East is usually wrapped up by now. We're already talking the Patriots. Who are they going to be playing in the divisional round? Who's coming to Foxborough? We're talking about right now that the New England Patriots might have to be realistically playing on Wild Card Weekend. Take that into perspective. That doesn't happen a lot. In the past 20 years, that does not happen. There's only been 2 AFC East winners in the past since 2000. And it was the Dolphins in 2008 and the New York Jets in 2002. That's it. This division has been run by the New England Patriots. And like you just said, Ted, 16 weeks in, and we still don't have a clear-cut winner. We don't have a clear-cut winner in the AFC South. We don't have a clear-cut winner in the NFC East or the NFC West. It's fascinating what's going on in the NFL right now. And I was just saying last night, and I got a text that like, oh, who played in the Thursday night game last night? It was like, so there was nothing really to talk about. Let's take that into consideration. That the NFL wasn't on last night. Yeah, you had a basketball game on. We're going to talk about that basketball game in a little while. But just think about how big the NFL is right now. Last night was a slow night in sports, it seemed like, because everything comes back to the NFL. It comes back to the Thursday night game. Yeah, it's always nice, and we could talk about the Sunday games and the Saturday games, but there's
also
night
no
game,
college football games right now. The bowl season starts today.
But the
NFL,
there was even when there was college football games on a Thursday, it didn't matter. It was always the NFL, and it didn't matter who was playing. It was always the start of the weekend.
That's why I can't wait for the XFL, baby.
And that's what it meant. And to see the NFL right now, the landscape of the NFL, to many, and to me, it should be at an all-time high right now. Because you got great stuff going on in the NFC right now. You have so much unknown going on in the AFC. And you have just so much unknown. The only certainty that's going to happen in the NFL right now is that Lamar Jackson is going to win the MVP. Take that into consideration. Right now, you do not know who's going to be the top 2 seeds in each league. Specifically the NFC. And the AFC is still not over. Because the Chiefs could make the 2 seed. And if the Patriots lose this week, the Patriots drop from 2 to 3. And they're not getting a home playoff game in the divisional round. They are not getting the first round bye. I should take that back. They are getting a home playoff game, but they'll be playing on Wild Card Weekend. There's so much unknown. There's so many great storylines to talk about for the next 2 weeks.
And we're not even talking about the Giants and Redskins and Dolphins and the bad teams.
Which is also, those are two, for our purposes, those are two massive games. And we're going to get into that right now in the Giants and Redskins. We just talked about so much good. But even with the bad, there's so much good with that. If you want to really believe that. Bad and good. I don't know if that goes together, but it usually doesn't. But in this case,
it's like yin and yang. It's okay.
Usually it doesn't go well. But in this case, there is good with those games because of how meaningful they are. And everybody wants to say, well, they're 6-22 combined. Why is that meaningful? Yeah, because it's about future for teams like that. That's what it all comes down to for those four teams, the Dolphins and the Bengals game. It's about the future because there is a guy, a kind of transcendent star that could really come in and be the workhorse of your defense.
Well, that's for the Giants and Redskins we're talking about.
Well, that could be for the Dolphins too.
Oh, I don't.
I'm talking about
the Bengals.
Bengals seem like all signs point to them taking a quarterback.
Well, here's the thing: all signs that they'll be the number 1 seed. The 2, 3, and 4.
Number 1 seed.
Do you know the Lions are still? Do you know the Lions are still in play?
They're 3-10-1. That's what I'm saying. This Sunday, think about this. This Sunday game, the Giants and Redskins. They're 3-11, both of them. We get that. And this is about Dwayne Haskins and Daniel Jones as well, because you got to think about it. Specifically the Washington Redskins. Is Dwayne Haskins their guy? Because there seems like there's been a lot of controversy surrounding that in the sense of Dan Snyder wanted Dwayne Haskins and drafted Dwayne Haskins. Not Jay Gruden. It was not Jay Gruden. So do we have that question mark going forward? And the New York Giants, what happens for them? The New York Giants, as a New York Giant fan, you're put in the worst position right now. Because you think about it. No fan wants to ever see your team lose and struggle. And that's where we are right now. The New York Giants are one of the worst teams in the past 4 years in the NFL. They have not been good. Forget about that one lone playoff season. They have not been good since the last Super Bowl. This is a chance for the Giants to revamp that defense, to get back to the way things were, to get back to dominating in the trenches. That's what the Giants have the opportunity to. This is such a tough game because you don't want to ever see your team lose and struggle and play bad, but that's what it's come to with the Giants.
This is the worst possible scenario for a Giant
But
fan.
there's such a great talent waiting. If the Giants lose this game, waiting in their laps.
I said this to
named Chase Young.
This is a generational type talent. A guy that I don't think we've seen in a long time. This is the way I compare it defensively is an Andrew Luck style thing. When Andrew Luck was coming out at quarterback, he was like the sure thing. Like everyone said, he's the next best thing we've seen as a college quarterback coming out since John Elway. Like you knew it. You knew he was going to be great. Like it was
Andrew Luck.
There's no such thing as a sure thing.
Andrew
But
Luck.
he was like the closest thing to a sure thing. Now, things can happen defensively, but we're not experts. We watch the game of football. I know as much football as I possibly can know based on reading, based on what my parents have taught me, and my dad coached for 27 years since I played high school, youth football, and college. Okay? Mm-hmm. And now that I'm a high school and college official. So I only know what I know. But based on what I know is the most dominant player in college football is Chase Young.
Yes.
Now, what I've seen in the NFL is the way I relate Chase Young is what Khalil Mack and what Von Miller did in their first 5 years in the NFL. If anyone remembers, Von Miller was the most dominant player in defense the first couple of years.
You know what pick he was?
Second. Yes.
Yep.
Cam Newton was number 1.
Yep.
And we saw in the Super Bowl the number 1 and number 2 pick. Now, Von Miller was the game changer. A guy that sack, strip, fumble, touchdown, game over.
We've
seen a player number 2 taken overall in the 1983 draft, and that was called the guy from UNC, Lawrence Taylor. Now, I'm not saying he's Lawrence Taylor. No one's Lawrence Taylor. Even Bill Belichick said
Nobody
there's no such thing.
Nobody will ever be Lawrence Taylor.
But we want something like that. We want a transcendent player defensively, and that's what this kid has the skills to be. McShay said he is much better than Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa, and they both went 3-2. I'm at 4-2. Was it 3-2?
2-3.
2-3. Well, I was
3-2. 3-2. Well,
I went back.
I guess 3 goes before 2 now.
Well, 3 because Joey Bosa went 3, and then the next year was 2. So Chase Young, skills-wise, is better than both of those players, and those guys are both phenomenal talents at the NFL layer. To think that this kid is better than both of them, and the Giants have an opportunity, a glaring need for a pass rusher with his skills, and to put in. You think about where the Giants have gone. They have been so dreadful. But to think in the last 3 years you would get a transcendent running back in Saquon Barkley. The next year you would get your future quarterback in Daniel Jones. And then the year later you would get a transcendent defensive player, a pass rusher like Chase Young. The golden opportunity to set your future up for the next 10 years is right in front of you.
Here's an also part is, what do the Giants have to, with the win, what does that do for the Giants?
There's more Shermer's future.
Shermer's gone. Shermer shouldn't be back next year. We know what Pat Shermer is. We've seen enough of it.
But if they win, there's going to be – I know you're right. You're 100% right. But there's going to be the thing where, hey, the Giants finished strong. Maybe if we give Shermer another year with another sense of talent and Gettleman gets a refuel, maybe we give him another shot.
Okay, what kind of talent then? You're not getting Chase Young. You don't get Chase Young who wins. This is why the Giants are in such a tough predicament.
People would say, hey, listen, you win or you're in a position where 3, you could trade back and get other pieces and you get.
But with a talent like Chase Young that could be there with a loss, you can't afford to miss on a player like this because you are, like you said, it's such a glaring need for the Giants. This is a need. This is a need for the future. It's not, oh, yeah, we would like to. No, this is a need. This is a pressing need.
This is a must.
This is a must to have. And I want Daniel Jones to play great the next 2 games. I really do. I want him to because I want to see more development. I want to see more growth in him becoming our hopeful franchise quarterback. And that's the thing. We're not even talking about the Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins matchup because now we get to finally see them one-on-one, go head-to-head. He came in later in the game, in the first game. Now we actually get to see them play against one another. But this is the Chase Young Bowl. There's a reason why they're calling it the Chase Young Bowl, people. Because that's what's at stake. Because we all assume that Miami is going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. So then this matchup is the battle for number 2 and 3. You're this close. Both teams are this close. A loss here makes it that much closer.
And I was just reading about this. Just for kicks and giggles, if the Bengals did win out and the Redskins lost out, the Redskins could have the number 1 seed. If I said it right, the Redskins lose out and the Bengals win out, the Redskins still have an opportunity to get the number 1 seed. Just reading about it. And
that's what it comes down to.
So you know, it's such. We've been watching, we were listening to other shows and seeing what people, and it's like, as a Giant fan, you never want your team to lose. You want your team to lose.
No, you don't.
And here's the other thing. After Daniel Jones has come in and won his first 2 games, he's lost 9 straight. And you want to build confidence going to the offseason.
Yes.
You don't want your quarterback losing 11 straight. You want him to get back to that winning ways. To have that. Now, listen, the Giants and the Eli Manning, feel-good story, outstanding. Congratulations.
It's the perfect send-off.
Listen, he came in. He got the home win. He got the send-off from the home crowd. He got the standing ovation. Good. Now it's time to move on. Daniel Jones, you want him to win because you want to build toward the future. You want to get that feel. Listen, this is about – they always say, like, you want to win your last game because you want to build – you want to go into the offseason feeling good. If the Giants lose, it'll be 11 straight loss. No, excuse me. Well, they won last week. But if you take that lesson, it would have been 11 out of the last 12 games losses. And that's not how you want to build toward the future. You don't want your future
guess what?
quarterback.
You keep saying building toward the future.
Because if you remember, the way Eli kind of went off in his last game, he won.
Yeah, beat Dallas. The thing is, building towards the future – you have an opportunity to find that future home run hitter, that future star in the making, hopeful, that you're hoping that Chase Young could be. I mean, if you're building towards the future, you need to get the best player. And you have a player that seems like he's far and beyond everyone else in the draft class.
Oh, yeah.
That he's the best player by far in this draft class. Guess what? The Giants could have that again.
Well, that's what Barkley was. Barkley,
Yes.
talent-wise, was the best player coming out of that draft. Now, we know how it goes. Quarterbacks are always going to be driven up on the board because of the need for a great quarterback.
The value, yes.
Always. It'll happen 10,000 out of 10 times because if,
10,000 out of 10 times.
Oh, well, using...
My God. My God, man.
I'm using Dad's thing, 1,000
Yeah,
years.
1,000 years.
But listen, Chase Young by far is the number one player overall prospect. He doesn't have to do any of the workouts, and he'll still be the number one pick. It's not even a question about it. The Giants have a golden opportunity to get a generational defensive player, and that's what it comes down to.
And they haven't had that. And think about that. They haven't had a generational defensive player since LT. I think it's time.
Well, I think people would make the argument Strahan was.
Strahan was because Strahan came in and
he wasn't a top pick.
Yeah, I know.
And that's what we're talking about.
He was an unproven guy,
out of
a no-name guy,
out of a small
and he
school.
became a legend. He built it. Chase Young coming in has already got he could be the next Von Miller or the next Khalil Mack. He's already got that certain standard now.
Got to give him 56 too now.
Can't go that far.
I
Can't go that far. I know the Dwayne Haskins and Daniel Jones match is interesting, but this is called the Chase Young Bowl for a reason. That's what the reward is. Yes, you might lose, but the reward could be just that much sweeter. There is bad in the NFL, and we talked about culture last week. And we talked about the greatness of culture and why these teams, like the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New England Patriots, have been so great. I shouldn't say the Bills, but now they're starting to get into that wheelhouse of becoming great. It's because of the culture. Well, there's certain teams that still just can't get out of their own way. And that's one of them is a team that's been, like we talked about, the moment they made a trade for a big name guy. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he did play for the New York Giants. His name is Odell Beckham Jr., and we already self-proclaimed them to be the Super Bowl champions. And now where are they?
They've been the biggest disappointment all season.
There has been some big disappointments in this league this year. The Chargers, the Falcons, both teams, Super Bowl aspirations. But the Cleveland Browns.
Definitely the most disappointing team in the season.
It all comes back to the culture. You got a head coach that doesn't care about his job, it seems like.
No, that's not true. Did you hear his interview the next day? People took that way out of line. He said it. Do you think I didn't care about my job? No, I do care about my job. He said, did you listen to it the next day? When he said that, I knew what he meant. Do you think he honestly didn't care about his job?
Of course.
Come on.
He cared about it.
Stop being stupid, everyone. Of course he cares about his job. But he's worried about the team and everything else. All this other crap that people wanted. I don't care about he cares about his job.
But you look at this team. This team is more talented than the New England Patriots. More talented, Ted. Listen. More talented. They have more talent than the New England Patriots. Defensively and offensively, you take more Browns players, I bet, than more Patriot players.
Okay, but
guess what?
Letting you go on.
Talent always doesn't win you games. Talent is a big part of this league. We get that. You have to have great talent. It's a huge part. But you also have to have the culture. You also have to have
coaching.
You also have to have the right system. And you have to have those players believing in that system. When you're seeing guys like Jarvis Landry arguing multiple times with Freddie Kitchen, or you see Odell Beckham Jr., it's been the same thing going on with this Cleveland Browns story since the beginning. It's always been about something other than the game.
Well,
it was always about, we dealt with earrings, we dealt with watches, we dealt with a Rolls Royce shoes. We dealt with cleats, cars, Commercials,
Suspensions.
it's suspensions. It's always been about, with this Cleveland Brown team specifically this year, it's always been about everything other than the play on the field. And that is the problem. It's always been about something else. And that's why teams like the New England Patriots are going to the playoffs again, because they don't worry about garbage like that. They don't worry about nonsense like that. The Cleveland Browns do. Congratulations. They won in the offseason. They won the Super Bowl in the offseason. I'll give you that. Congratulations. That's it. That's what the Cleveland Browns, the 2019 Cleveland Browns, will be remembered for. Once again, another laughing stock and the example of why this is a continued story of the Cleveland Browns.
It's not going to change, man. I mean, here's the thing: you got to look at from every side. You don't have a GM. Here's the thing: when Myles Garrett's situation occurred, and you didn't even mention that too.
No, I said.
I know.
You brought it up. You brought it up.
No, I know.
Though.
You never heard the GM come out in a press conference and say anything.
Nope.
With all the stuff with the Beckham, you never heard Dorsey come out and say anything. Last week when the job controversies, you never heard Dorsey come out and say, "Listen, we're backing our guy." Blah blah blah. You know what? Anything to give a sign of confidence.
For a guy that's very
that's
very boisterous, it seems like
he has stayed far away from the scene, almost like, "Hey, it's not my problem."
That's where it all.
And he could be like, "Hey," he could go back. "Hey, listen, we made a mistake. Blah blah blah. Give me another chance."
Nope.
I don't have an issue with Jarvis Landry and the coach getting into it, because we've seen Tom Brady get into it. But here's the problem: when you're losing and you're the Cleveland Browns, it comes off a lot more negative than when you're winning. Because guys get into arguments all the time with coaches. We see it. There's disagreement. But this is a man's game.
But listen, all you've been hearing is
Negativity.
what recent weeks is, "Come get me." That's what you've been hearing.
Well, no. Jarvis Landry supposedly was yelling to the Cardinals, "Come trade for me."
But what does that say? What does that say?
Well, here's the thing. Because those guys want to win.
Hold on. Of course, everybody wants to win. But if you're like a Cleveland Brown fan, or you're a higher up in the Cleveland organization, and you keep hearing stuff like this, how does this make you feel as a fan? That another year has come, and another year it's the same exact result. They haven't had a winning record. The decade's about to be over next week, in 2 weeks.
I know.
Less than 2 weeks. The Cleveland Browns have not had one winning season this entire decade. That's the current state of the Cleveland Browns. It does not matter who you get. Hell, you can bring back Jim Brown if you wanted to. The Cleveland Browns will be the same old Cleveland Browns. And like I said last week, it all starts at the top. It all starts with the GM. It starts with the owner. It starts with the coach. And then that coach feeds off to his message to the players. And if the players believe in it and they run with it, then guess what? Most likely they will be successful majority of the time. And if they don't, they will be the Cleveland Browns, Ted. All talent, and that's it. They have nothing to show for it. You won't be able to see any of that
I can care less. It's not my problem.
No, it's not. But that's what I'm trying to say is that
I'm just glad I'm not a Browns fan.
It's their problem. No, we're just Giant fans. Not much better to be a Giant fan.
I will say this, though.
Not much better to be a Giant fan.
As bad as the
now.
Giants are this year, okay, there is no controversy. There is no BS. There is no Landon Collins calling out the coaches or calling out one of his teammates like you did last year. Remember that?
No Odell Beckham Jr.
Crap.
No.
Okay. There is no JPP blowing off his fingers. There's
no nonsense.
There's no nonsense. The only nonsense is that the Giants
they're not good.
Right
they're
now,
not a good team,
and that the Giants have to make a coaching change. That is normal. It happens. We don't have the BS. That's why, we're not talking about the Raiders, because there is no. That is a team that's building toward the future. There's no controversy. The Browns have controversy. Kareem Hunt last week. You didn't say that. And we can go on and on.
You're just adding
a guy who's been suspended, who's beating people up, kids, wives, whatever. He now comes, I don't know if all my teammates gave 110% effort. Really?
You just added to what I'm saying.
More fuel to the fire.
It's everything that is not talked about. It's talked about for the wrong reasons. We should be talking about their play in the field. It's everything else. And that's why the Cleveland Browns, once again, another year has come and another year will pass. But the Cleveland Browns will be a bad team and a team that misses the playoffs. That's what it comes down to, ladies and gentlemen. You can only go as far with talent. If you don't have the heart, if you don't have people that buy into the message and believe in the system, then guess what? You'll be the Cleveland Browns. Plain and simple. Ladies and gentlemen, we are taking a break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking some NBA basketball. Did Giannis just prove last night that he is the most dominant player in the NBA? We'll talk about that all. Keys to the City. We'll be right back, folks.
You're listening to Keys to the City, brought to you by All Noise Radio. Here's your host, Trevor and Ted.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to this City. If you didn't get to check out the first part of our show, you can check us out on Spotify and YouTube as well. And if you want to try to order one of these nice hoodies, these brand new hoodies that we got, just give us a message and let us know if you want one. Let's get into some NBA. What do you think, Ted? The hardwood. Last night, I just talked about the NFL, that it kind of seemed like a slow night in sports because the NFL, majority of the time, is dominating the headlines. And we're talking about the Thursday night game. That was not the case last night, ladies and gentlemen. That was the NBA. And the NBA had an opportunity to put their product on the field or on the court to the fans. And guess what? They delivered. They delivered last night. And we're going to start with my Lakers against those Milwaukee Bucks. And Giannis. Talk about a star. Talk about a guy that has, we always like to talk about in the show, and you love to see stories like this because you always want to see somebody try to, it's all about the grind. It's all about working to be the greatest and working to be better each and every year. And we've talked about it countless amount of times, proving people wrong, doubting the naysayers, the critics. And you look at Giannis this year, and you just look at the past couple of years and what he's been able to do. You see what his stats are. He's unbelievable. He's dominant. But it's more about, to me, that he's improved each and every year. He's taken that challenge to be better, to be great, to be legendary. And last night, you played against a legendary figure. You went against one of the greatest of all time, LeBron James, who still to this day, to some, might be the best player in the NBA. And that's saying something for a guy that's 34 or 35 years old in his 17th year. He has dominated this league. And that's what great players do. But they've always, the same thing with great players, and you'll see it forever. It's this. It's improvement each and every year. It's about trying to better yourself. It's about trying to be the best. And that's why LeBron James, that's why guys like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kareem, Bill Russell. And I'm just saying these names because it seems like these are the guys that when you associate themselves with the decades, those are the guys that come to mind. But why were they so great? Because they always went the extra mile. They always wanted to improve to get better. And that's why they go down, all those guys, as Hall of Famers. And Giannis could be on the way to that because he's improved everything. His biggest thing coming into this year was, is he ever going to develop some kind of shooting game? He's done pretty well so far up until this point.
He has improved every single year.
And that's the scary thing. This kid is 25 years old. And we talked about it a couple weeks back. Who would you build your franchise for the next 10 to 12 years? I picked Luka Doncic, but I also did say, if Giannis Antetokounmpo ever develops a three-point game or even a shooting game,
he'll be unstoppable.
There's just good luck to everybody else. because there's not going to be any stopping him. It hasn't happened the past 2 years. We've seen it once in the past 2 years. And that was a guy by the name of Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs. We saw it. He exposed his weakness. Right now, Giannis, he doesn't have a weakness. He's dominating. He dominated last night. He dominated a great basketball team in the LA Lakers. And he was the best player in all the games last night. There was a lot of stars in those games last night.
I mean, you think
Some of the best of the best.
about where his skill level is. He is a center with
that could play
with guard skills.
That could play all 5 positions.
He was defending Anthony Davis.
He could play all 5 positions.
Oh, absolutely.
Has he?
But think about it. He had the length, the power, and the size to guard Anthony Davis, which not many guys in the NBA does.
Yep.
He also has the skill to guard LeBron James on the thing. He can guard a smaller guard on the thing. You think about this. Last year, he was the MVP. He averaged 27 points a game, almost 12 rebounds, a little bit over 12 rebounds, 12.1. And he was a 26% shooter at the 3-point line. Do you know this year? He's averaging over 31 points a game. He's averaging over 12 rebounds a game. He's also, his 3-point percentage is over 30%, up to 32%. Last night, he was 5 for 6 from 3.
34%.
34% now?
Yeah.
Well, he was 5 for 6 last night. Do you know last year he made 52 threes? This year, he's already at almost 50 threes a game. To think that he has improved drastically
Let me tell you this
much in 1 year, where he is going to be in the next 10 years, he's 6'11". He's the most athletic guy in the NBA.
Really?
Why? Who's more athletic than Giannis right now?
Anthony Davis?
Athletically?
He's pretty athletic, Anthony
Giannis
Davis.
is more athletic.
Okay. I was just giving a name. I'm not saying Giannis. I'm not saying Anthony Davis is.
He's a close number 2 or 3. He's about the same size, but I think Giannis athletically is a little more skillful.
LeBron?
Giannis is taller. He's 6'11", bro.
LeBron's doing it. LeBron's still doing it in year 17.
But with a wingspan of 7'4".
Can I talk about the improvement? I'm just looking at his points right now. He started at 6, went to 12, 16, 22, 26, 27, now at 31. And even the rebounds. I'm looking at rebounds. He's jumped every year. This is what great players do. This is what legends do. They improve each and every year. They better themselves to be the best. And he's heard since last year, oh, well, you got to work on your jumping. You got to work on your 3-point game. You got to work on your jump shooting. You have to become a shooter. You can dominate and get to the rim all the time. That's fine. But when it comes down to crunch time, playoff time, it's kind of like the Kirk Cousins thing. Stats is all nice and nice, but when it comes to playoff time, that's where you become legendary and become remembered. And Giannis is doing that.
This reminds me of LeBron too.
Yes,
think about it.
That's
LeBron
what I said. That's what I said. No, I said
and
LeBron.
the great ones work on their skill and they get better.
Yes,
and
that's what I said about LeBron. When LeBron came into the league, he wasn't known for his shooting. It was everything else. That was the one game that he had to work on. And what did he do? Every year, he kept getting better and better. 3-point shooting, better and better. And now look at LeBron James. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the all-time greats. Maybe we'll go down as one of the top 2 or 3 greatest players of all time.
Who, LeBron?
Yes.
He's already top 3 of all time.
Okay.
We're not going to get into the argument.
But Giannis, you see the improvements that it's already happening, and he's at such a young age, 25 years old. He is dominating like LeBron did at the age of 24 and 25. If LeBron, and we're talking about a guy that's 6'11" that can play all 5 positions just like LeBron. This is literally a LeBron clone. And somebody said, I think it was Jay Williams, it is like LeBron and Anthony Davis had a baby. If you put them together, this is what they are together. The same kind. It's literally LeBron and Anthony Davis put together. And that's what you're seeing. A guy that's 6'11" that can do everything.
And you know what else is remarkable too? He's doing it for the Milwaukee Bucks. A team that you're not used to seeing to be this time and this great. And you're also seeing with a guy who's not teaming up. Well, at this present time, I know he's still under contract, but he's doing it with not another superstar. We were watching the games last night. The Lakers. Last night you said it, and I think you're 100% right.
Thank you. You don't usually say that a lot.
Yes, I do once in a while. So stop.
Once in a while?
Yes, I have. I have.
You never like to admit it.
Steve will probably remember.
You never like to admit it.
Yes, I have, and you'll be like, "Oh, I told you so." I think last night we did see the 4 best teams in the NBA: the Clippers, the Rockets, the Lakers, and the Bucks.
But
what I'll say with this is each one of those three teams, except for the Milwaukee, have 2 stars.
Yep.
Harden and Westbrook. LeBron and Anthony Davis, and then Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
And when you speak about the Bucks, who right now have the best record in the NBA, they don't have a second superstar. No knock on Chris Middleton. He's a nice player. He's an all-star caliber.
He's a number 3 on other teams.
He's a Kyle Kuzma. He's what the Lakers expect Kyle Kuzma
Probably
to
a
be
better
for
version
them.
of Kyle Kuzma, but
But
I understand what you're saying.
he is what the Lakers expect as the number 3 guy.
Yeah.
To see what Giannis is doing. Now, you still got the playoffs and you still got the rest of the season. And I'm not going to overstate the importance of one game in an 82-game season.
No, I'm not even talking about the game. I'm just
19.
I'm just talking about in general his play.
But what I think we're starting to see is, and I'm not taking this away from LeBron because a lot of people are going to get this wrong. But I think last night people have to start understanding that we are going to eventually see the passing of the torch, if not sooner than later. Okay, they did. If you watched the game last night, they did like a player of each generation of whose generation it was, and they went through the 60s. And it was like Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell. The 70s was Kareem. 80s was Bird and Magic. The 90s was Jordan. The 2000s was Shaq and Kobe. The 2010s has been LeBron James. What you're going to start seeing in the 2020s, this is the Giannis era. There is no other player that's going to be at his elite level. He is going to be the guy. Now, you're going to make – people are going to be like, what about Curry in the 2010s? Sorry. LeBron's has been – the last 10 years –
LeBron's been the best player.
In the 2020s, you're going to make the argument. Maybe it could be Luka Doncic. Maybe it could be someone else. But
Anthony
right now,
Davis.
I think where we are is Giannis. Barring injury – barring
he
is the best player. And last night, if he can develop – and it doesn't have to be a great shooting game. Because LeBron never became a great shooter and still isn't a great shooter. He is still improving his shooting game, even in year 17.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can get to a point where he can make jump shots on a regular basis, it is going to make him unstoppable because at this point or another, he is unstoppable at his size and length and where he is at capability now. He could be one of the greatest players of all time, and we are looking at one of the greatest players we've seen of all time last night.
Is he the most dominant player in the NBA right now? And if not, who would?
I wouldn't say most dominant. I think he has the opportunity.
So who's the most dominant player in the NBA then?
I would still put Kawhi and LeBron ahead of him. Because and the reason why I say Kawhi is because we've seen him do it last year, and what he did. He did it to Giannis last year, and we've seen him do it to LeBron.
I'm not talking about postseason and all that. I'm talking about regular season right now.
I don't care about regular season.
I'm talking about that right now. Who is the most dominant? You have to put Giannis.
I put him third. I'll still put Kawhi and LeBron ahead of him.
Hold on. So how is you're gonna say he's third, but where would you put him in player rankings right now?
First. Oh, MVP?
How do you have no player? Not even MVP. Best player right now would either be LeBron or Giannis.
Yes.
So how would he be number 3 then, as most dominant? It just doesn't add up.
I think because when I watched the playoffs last year, I watched Kawhi be able to shut down or at least neutralize Giannis.
I think this is a different Giannis now. I think he's
yes, I know, but
because he exploited that flaw. He exploited that weakness, and now Giannis
basing that off of what we've seen so far in 27 games so far. Here's my question.
I mean, we're saying LeBron, what he's been able to do is amazing too. But
would you not like to see it though in the playoffs?
Of course.
That's why I'm going to take Kawhi and LeBron right now because I've seen LeBron do it for 17 straight years. I know what I'm going to, and I've seen Kawhi.
LeBron would be my number 2.
I don't know how you don't think Kawhi.
I would have. I didn't say Kawhi wouldn't. I would say Kawhi would probably be in my top 3. If I had to do my most dominant players right now, 1A, 1B, I would have Giannis, LeBron. Number 2, I would have is Kawhi. Number 3 is also the guy up there in that picture. It's Anthony Davis. I'd have Anthony Davis at 4 because when Anthony Davis is playing on the court like he did last night, he's dominant. He is nasty. He's a 30.
It's a great argument to have.
No, but
I just think when Kawhi, when he's ready to play and when he played like he did last year in the playoffs, when he wants to shut down guys and be his diamond, we've seen him do it against LeBron.
I love Kawhi. Don't get me wrong.
We've seen him do it against Giannis.
Yep.
We saw him do it against Golden State.
I love Kawhi. Don't get me wrong. But what Giannis has been able to do this year, and how I said, go back to my first point, is that how he's been able to improve every year. He knew coming into this year what his weakness is. He had to come in and do it. And guess what? He's doing it. He's shooting threes. He's making those 3 balls. And guess what? If he continues to improve like this, who's stopping him? Nobody.
I think the only thing you have to question, and if you watch, I don't know if you were sleeping at that point in time, but what you saw the Raptors do last year is when Giannis drove to the lane.
I was not sleeping for the Raptors.
No, it was early. It was early. They were showing previews of the game. They were trapping him and condensing the lane. So can his role players step up and be those impactful players that he needs them to be in the playoff time? Because just like football and baseball, everything becomes scrutinized and it becomes brought down to a smaller thing. So you can get away with things in the regular season that you can't get away in the playoffs because teams are more vocal. Defense
is the name of the game in the postseason. I understand that.
So that's what I'm saying. It's a great game he had last night. Will he be able to do the same things he is doing right now in the playoffs? That's a question mark to me. I think talent-wise and skill, I saw what Steve writes. He is probably the best player in the league. He's playing like the best player. Think about where his level is right now. I think
to me, it's up for debate. It's either LeBron or Giannis. However you want to vote on it, however you want to perceive it about.
And you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's either Giannis or LeBron. Those are the 2 best players in the world right now. And Giannis, why I think he's taking that next step to being greatness is because just the improvement. And that's what it comes down to. He's improved so much each and every year. And that's what all the greats have done. And that's why they were all-time greats. Because each year they worked on their weakness and they improved on it. And it's showing right now, and last night showed as well too. Was on display. If you haven't been able to see Giannis Antetokounmpo, because there's not a lot of times that he's on because of the Milwaukee. But when you do, you have to really watch him. If you're a basketball fan, you have to really see him.
He'll be on Christmas Day.
This man dominates. This kid, I should say. He's 25 years old. He's only a kid. He's a baby. And he's dominating the league right now.
And you saw last year in the All-Star game.
He is
the captain. He is,
as they call him,
the Greek
freak. He's a freak of an athlete. He's gotten stronger. And we haven't even talked about that. When he came in, he was a twig. Now he's a beast. He looks like a beast, a 6'11" beast. And you know what? Good luck to the rest of the NBA. Because as I said, if this man ever develops some kind of shooting game, he'd be unstoppable. And he's on the verge of doing that.
I just want to make one last stat to say one thing. This incredible season that the Bucks are having. They are 3-0 right now against both LA teams.
That's good.
They are 3-0 against both LA teams.
But Ted, like you said, it comes down to postseason.
And that's what the name of the game is. Yes, because the Bucks were phenomenal last season too. But we saw them get dominated.
Can I tell you who I got for my bold prediction I made? I picked the Heat against the Lakers finals. Because I'm confident that Pat Riley's going to make a move. That's why.
It'd have to be significant.
That's why I'm going. That's why I 100% think he's going to, because that team is a dangerous team. I mean, everybody wants to talk about the Western Conference, how it's been great, top heavy, but the Eastern Conference varies intriguing as well.
You know what's funny?
Right
we did do an NBA quick preview show, whatever.
A couple, yeah.
And we haven't talked much NBA because really there hasn't been anything that exciting in the NBA season. Nothing that's really drawn our attention. Listen, I know Harden's putting up phenomenal numbers this year. Giannis is putting up. LeBron James, he's 30 plus years old, and he's having over 25 points and over 10 assists a game, which has never been done by a guy 30 years old and older.
Yeah.
Last night he had another triple-double. He's having a phenomenal season. He's right there 1 and 2 in the MVP caliber level. Luka Doncic, before he got hurt, has been having an incredible season. There's so many guys having great seasons this year. The Clippers are a phenomenal team. And we talked about, hey, maybe this year was a parity year. Really? There's 3 or 4 teams that have a chance to win the NBA Finals, and that's it. Let's be honest with each other. There is no more than 3 or 4 teams. It's either the 2 teams in LA are going to win it, because as good as Houston is, I don't think they could. If they have to play both teams, one in the semifinal.
You already know how I feel about it, Ted.
They're not going to be able to.
You already know how I feel about the.
With the East, I just think the Bucks are head and shoulders above everyone else right now. Right now on December 20th, if the Celtics or the Heat or the Sixers make a move down the road, to get a piece or two, maybe that will change. But right now, looking the way the Bucks are playing, Giannis is playing, the role players, and they did that last night without Eric Bledsoe too. Another scorer and a point guard guy and a guy that can score points, play great defense. That's another key piece.
Very impressive win from the Bucks. Very impressive win from the Rockets. It was a great night for the NBA. The 4 best teams were on display, and boy, oh boy, were those great matchups. If I could get those 7 games for the finals with those two, and a second-round matchup between the Clippers and the Rockets, I'll sign me up for that because I love seeing some great competition. I love seeing the best of the best play, and I love seeing great games. And that was what it was last night. The NBA, job well done. There's some great talent in the NBA. We don't talk enough about the talent in the NBA. There's some great talent, great young talent that's come, and it's only going to get better. They're getting the boost, and college basketball is getting the kick in the rear end.
And the funny thing about it is the number 1 player we haven't seen yet either. So that's part of the reason maybe why we haven't talked to him.
And that's a time for another
There is no
story.
Zion, and I think if Zion was playing, a lot of networks and a lot of podcasts who are trying to talk NBA would be mentioning about Zion, but he hasn't played this season. And we're not talking about all these other teams that are having. Kemba Walker's having a phenomenal year with the Celtics.
Having a phenomenal year.
And the Celtics are a better team this year with Kemba Walker than they are last year with Kyrie Irving. The Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler are having a phenomenal season.
Big fan of the Miami Heat right now.
Didn't see that coming.
I did. I said they were a dark horse. People wanted to count them out. Trust me, that's a good organization to go to. And I said, I wouldn't even say good. That's a great organization, and that's why they've been consistent for years. And if they can, like I said, if they can add another superstar, not a superstar, but a 2, like a Kevin Love or something like that, team them up with Bam Bam and Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero. The kid Nunn has been so impressive. The rookie for them has been so impressive. They have such a great team. You know Spoelstra, he's been a great coach. He's won titles. And then you got Pat Riley at the top. I mean, boy, oh boy, the Heat, just watch out for them. They make a move, I'm telling you. Could be a dark horse in the NBA playoffs.
Bring the Heat.
Bring the Heat, baby. I love what I'm seeing from the NBA. It's good. And it started last night. You had your best of the best on display. And it was a big and a hell of a successful night for the NBA. Ladies and gentlemen, we're taking our final break. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by the Joseph Aguirre to talk some New York Yankee baseball. Gerrit Cole, what a press conference it was. Are the Yanks done with it, though? What's going on with them? Lindor, Hader, what's going on with that? And what about the other teams? The big-name teams have been real quiet this year. We'll talk all that with Joe in a couple minutes. Keys to the City. We'll be right back.
You want sports? We've got sports. Here on Keys to the City. Brought to you by All Noise Radio. Here's your host, Trevor and Ted.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. And here he comes. The Joseph Aguirre is joining us right now to talk some baseball. We're still talking baseball. The winter meetings are done with. But we're still talking some New York Yankee baseball. And the press conference the other day has happened. Gerrit Cole is officially a New York Yankee. I love what I saw from him. I heard great things about it. The sign he still had. I just love seeing the confidence. I think he's ready to take New York by the storm. Well, you know from past, we've seen players come in like a Randy Johnson that have not been able to handle the New York media. I think this kid is born to be in New York, and I think he's ready to take the challenge because we all know everybody's coming after you now. No, you haven't won the championship. You haven't won anything, but everybody's coming to you. What did you think of the press conference overall from Gerrit Cole, and how excited are you to just see him finally in Yankee pinstripes?
First of all, for anybody who has anything negative to say about his wife, don't forget she was there long before the $324 million. Also, that's Brandon Crawford's sister, the Giants shortstop. I don't know if everybody knows that or not.
Joe's going in for some information.
You got to know some things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I read something and I was like very impressed. He did an interview with Chris Russo, and Chris Russo basically suggested to him that he hasn't been the number one guy. And what does that feel like? And Gerrit was quick to point out that he's always been a number one guy and that he was the one that closed out the series against Tampa.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you know, when it comes to being in big games, same thing. Game 3 in New York, who was on the mound for that game?
I know he struggled, but he got out when they needed him most.
I think I sent you that video on Messenger.
He came through when it mattered most. But I'll tell you what, you know, I also thought it was important, and you and I talked about this last night, Trev. The idea that, you know, he's this white whale that you know, the Yankees drafted him out of high school, and he was like, screw you, New York. Yeah. I'm not. And that's not what happened. His father's a PhD, and his father, as he told Gerrit and his sister, get your education. They had already committed to UCLA, and that's how important commitments are to this guy. So don't hold that against him. Also, him not getting traded to the Yankees when he ended up going to Houston, it's not like he had a say in the matter. Mm-hmm. So this idea that Gerrit Cole spurned the Yankees multiple times, it's not really true. He's always wanted to be there. He said as much. I got a little teary-eyed. I don't know, when he held up to sign it, and he was like, I've always been here.
You gonna cry right now? You're not gonna cry right now, are you?
I don't know him well enough to actually cry, but that's how I felt. I got choked up.
Did you read the story how like the Yankees kind of got him to sign? It was a part of the thing, like the wine bottle. Did you hear about that?
Oh, the wine's. I mean, I'm a wine drinker, and I can appreciate that, man.
He was in Florence. I don't know. Did you read the story, Trev? So when he was on his honeymoon in Florence in Italy with his wife, they had a special bottle of red wine. And
I love red wine.
The club manager, he was saying like he remembered the club manager from the Pirates, a very great guy. He said the Astros guy. He said the Yankee guy. He remembered having the conversation with him back in 2008, and the guy remembered exactly what bottle of wine.
Yeah,
what
Bob
year
Kakuza.
Yeah,
smart.
And when they came in, they walked in with a big box, and it had the 2008 and 2009 both bottles of red wine. Which, if you want to know, they're $900 a bottle.
What kind of wine?
It's Mas.
Whatever, I would drink. I love red wine. I'm a red wine drinker.
Me too.
I love red. I can't do the white wine. That's nah.
It was just
too sweet for me.
It's for your sister.
But I guess
wine.
Andy Pettitte was his childhood.
Well, and again, why did they bring Andy Pettitte? I mean, yes.
So he brought the child, and then the red wine, to be able to remember something like that just shows how far the Yankees were going to get him. I mean, listen, it's a special moment. You're trying anything to do to persuade. You know, it's like you're trying to get that girl.
I think
you remember that one little detail she said in class, like she loved that special rose.
Goes over well.
Rose.
Goes over well.
And you're like, and all these guys are like, they're better looking. They remember, and then you like bring her that card that had that special thing. It's like you remember.
And you know there was the iPad.
It's like the Grinch. The Grinch gave what's her name? The gift.
Cindy Lou Who?
No. The old. I forgot.
In the movie,
I forgot. She always remembered the gift that he got,
right,
and
right,
she fell in love.
Right.
See,
yep.
It works.
The mayor's wife.
It goes extra. It goes the extra mile. See.
But on the you know, they gave him, and I've actually heard some idiots talk about this what do you call it, like iPad that the Yankees also included, but it wasn't. They just gave the guy $324 million. It's not like they were like, hey, we're going to sweeten the deal with an iPad. Yeah. Inside the iPad was places to live in the city, or if you want to go outside the city, schools, restaurants. It was like, here's everything you do, and it's all right here. And they know he's a techie guy. That was a really nice touch, and it's something he's going to use. And again, it's not like that swung the deal, you know. And but believe it or not, I've literally heard people suggest that's why I bring these things up, like the wife. People are like, oh yeah, I'm sure, and it's like, well, she was there before.
Yeah, she was there before. Like everyone says that, it's nonsense. It's funny, and here's the other thing. What speaks volume of how he knew he always wanted to be a Yankee was after the Yankees offered the 9th year, they never even went back to the Angels and to the Dodgers and said, hey, listen, do you want to go 9 years? They never even went back. They were like, that's fine. That's good. Now, I don't know if anyone's read up, but Ken Rosenthal also pointed out that if Gerrit Cole does choose to opt out of his 5th year, the Yankees can block it at a 10th year and add the contract up to $360 million if they choose to. We're not worried about that. We're worried about it.
I'm not worried about it for 5 years from now. I want to just wait until next year. I want to win a championship.
But I also think bringing in Gerrit Cole, also puts a lot of pressure on Matt Blake, the new pitching coach, because listen, you got rid of Rothschild. He's
went
gone
to the Phillies.
I know he's gone, and you had
Philadelphia
numbers.
Yankees.
When the Yankees fired him, Trev, I remember you spitting out some stats and showing. Listen, he was one of the most efficient Yankee pitcher.
Last year was his worst year.
coaches.
Yeah, last year was his worst year, and I think that's why he got canned. Because
whose worst year?
Rothschild, the team ERA. The team ERA was the worst under him.
But the whole league's ERA was up.
But that's why I'm saying I think he's the one that got
somebody had to be the scapegoat because you're not getting rid of all
not
your
Houston.
starters.
They had signs, so they knew exactly.
Well, sure, but look,
he was
here's
the
my
scapegoat
point.
in the whole thing.
There are so many people right now who are like, just get rid of J Happ. Get like a bucket of baseballs for J Happ. And here's the thing: 2018. The Yankees don't make the postseason if they don't get J Happ.
He was 7-0.
Okay? Now, was he great in the postseason? No. And he matched up against a really good a historic Boston team.
Yep.
I read somewhere that was the beginning of his downfall, as if the end of 18 and a juiced ball in 19 have anything to do with each other. Also, from about August 5th on, Jay pitched great. I understand they left him off the postseason roster, but somebody was going to get left off. I'll also point out, and we talked about this early this morning, guys, the idea that you've taken away the Yankees' best starter from a year ago, Domingo Germán, you want to get Happ out of that rotation as well. You add Cole, and now it's the best rotation in baseball, or top three.
I think it's easily top two.
I'm stunned by that because from what everybody said last year, right through the postseason, the Yankees' rotation is garbage. It's mediocre. It's not good enough. You added one guy, and you took out the best guy, and you want to throw out another one, and now it's the best rotation in baseball.
You took it away from your arch rival on top of it.
That helps.
And, I mean, who else are you putting against them with their pitching staff? I mean, the Nationals.
But it just goes to show.
If you want to say top two, the Nationals would be the only team, and maybe the Mets, that I would consider as
the Dodgers.
Well, let's see how that all shakes out.
Absolutely. I don't think.
But as of today,
and you know what? In Cleveland, no one
just lost Kluber.
I know, but they still got a lot of young guns in that staff.
They retool quick.
They do it because they're
in a crappy division. That helps.
It does.
That does. Do you think the Yankees are done with making a move? Because I thought with the Cole move, I think this was what they wanted to do, and that was it. And they were going to try to get back some of their pieces. Now you're hearing all these rumors going after Schwarber. I don't think the Yankees need to go after a first baseman like him, especially if they're going to ask for so much. And then you got guys like Hader, you got Lindor. But Lindor is the name that you've been hearing. It's so associated.
Does it shock you that Brian Cashman right now is working the phone? What we've seen over the last few years from Brian Cashman is less on the free agents, more on the trades. That's something he's done really.
Do you like that idea?
I prefer it because listen, if there's a guy out there who underperformed last year and the team's looking to move him, they're not looking for top prospects. Like Lindor is gonna deplete your farm system, and you can't have that. You can't have that. We talk about is how Judge and Sanchez and Glaber and all these guys are gonna have to get extended. Well, who's the next? If you don't re-sign all these guys, who's going to replace them? You're going to just you built up your farm system to get you here, and now everybody wants to chop it back down, and they don't think there's going to be any ramifications. You're out of your mind.
Remember at the
We're
time.
Not getting rid of Florio. You're not getting rid of Debbie Garcia. You're just not doing it.
I 100% agree.
I don't think the Yankees even have the chips necessary. Again, unless you clear it out, you're not getting Lindor. You're not getting Bryant. Those guys might get moved. We saw Kluber get moved. Lindor's probably next. Mookie Betts is probably going to get moved. I'm seeing more signs out of Boston that's pretty likely at this point.
Yeah, because they need to do
Yes.
They need to retool their farm system because they gave up everyone to win that championship. And
remember when the Yankees did have a terrible farm system, and then they somehow magically
Chapman
it was after 14 into 15 as they started,
Chapman and Andrew Miller trade,
bringing people in and making trades. That's how you retool.
Listen, you need to keep somewhat of a good farm system. You have to, because if you do need to make the trade, you need to have the pieces there if you need to. The Yankees don't need any pieces right now. You also have to understand that if you are going to trade Francisco Lindor and you're going to kill your farm system, You're also going to kill your payroll because he's going to want a contract extension. And what you've heard is, now I don't think he's
pretty much a 2-year rental.
I know, but here's the thing. I don't think he's a $300 million man, but that's numbers that have been thrown out. Now, say even he's $200 million. So we're going to have Gerrit Cole for $324. We're going to have Stan for $320. And then and like you said, Joe.
You just can't keep handing out $300 million contracts.
People freak out about that, but then what about Sanchez? What about Judge?
Torres.
Now, I know they're under arbitration year, so you got them for another 1, 2, or 3 years, depending on what arbitration, if they're under arbitration 1, 2, or 3. But eventually those guys are going to have to be signed. So what guy are you willing to lose? You know what I'm saying? If you were making a baseball team right now, the Yankees have the perfect team. They have an ace. They have a number 2 who could be an ace. You have a number 3 who could be a number 2. You have a number 4 that could be a number 2. You have one of the deepest bullpens, if not the best bullpen in baseball, and they were last year. You have a power lineup that hit over 300 home runs last year. You have guys that can hit for average. You have a
contact hitter would be nice.
You have a great coach. You have an organization that loves to win and is not scared to pay for guys. What more could you want in a baseball team?
Well, what your brother just said is he wants to have a video game starting lineup.
I want Tony Gwynn.
You want Tony? Yeah, you want Tony.
I wanted Tony Gwynn
360 right off the top of the lineup. Look, could the Yankees have a perfect team? Sure. They could go out and get Bryant to play third and Lindor at short. They do. So dang close, it's not even funny. Could you finish it off and put together like a $600 million team of superstars? Sure.
They're already going to pay a serious amount of luxury tax.
And that's a big problem. And the Yankees are at this point looking to shed payroll. They're not looking to bring anything
That's why they are looking to get rid of Hap. And listen, and I'm not trying to cut you off, Trev, but I remember I was showing Joe when we were talking about this beforehand. There's possible free agents next year for the Yankees that are on their team, meaning Tanaka and Paxton. They're going to have to re-sign those guys. Now, we both said we don't think they're going to re-sign both of them. Maybe they will, but we both said if those guys were both on the open market, they are at least Bumgarner type number, meaning $80 million. Yep. So that's another $160 million. And they're both going to, if Bumgarner's older than both of them, they're both 31. They're both going to get at least 4 years, and we're talking at least $80 million, possible $100 million.
Just go over the luxury.
Well, they
already are. Just keep adding to it.
But here's the thing. Like, if you're gonna go over, just go over.
Just go over.
Just go over.
Exactly.
Next year's a whole new year. 2 years from now, everything starts to reset. You're gonna pay a lot of money the next couple of years.
Unless Stan wants to leave, which we both agreed. There's no way he's gonna leave and get the contract he thinks he wants.
Of course not.
Are you kidding me? Just trade him. We'll get Mike Trout.
Unless he hits 70 home runs this year and has MVP, maybe
then Yankee fans will be like, "Oh, I'm getting his jersey now."
Everybody's gonna love the guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, that's
until he strikes out 4 times in a playoff game. We'll hate him again.
Now, I think I'm probably gonna ask your question. Were you shocked by Bumgarner going to the Diamondbacks?
No,
it's a curious move.
In a division, like a division rival.
Well, again, this time of the year, I think teams sort of kid themselves. Yeah, like Texas picking up Kluber. That's what I was
That's
not going to help
That's
you.
What I was going to get. No, but not even the team. Forget about the teams for 1 second. It's the players. Why would 2 players like them go to 2 teams that are not going to be contending?
Well, Kluber didn't have a choice.
Well, no. Right. What if he asked? What if he didn't want to go? What if
he didn't have a no trades clause in his thing?
What if he wanted to get traded to a contender? I know it's not the best. There was probably not the best offer.
Right.
But you see the players like Bumgarner going to the Arizona. Why? Couldn't you have gone to a team like that needed a pitcher that could contend?
Well, here's the thing. Maybe, and I don't know for sure, unless Joe does, and I'll have him correct me. But maybe Bumgarner, that was the most money, and he said, "Listen, and you got to look at it this way."
I mean, he's already going into the Hall.
Money in years.
He's got the World Series, so he's not chasing ranks.
He's already going to the Hall
He's got
of Fame.
the MVPs. At this point or another, you're probably just trying to solidify.
Wait, really? Hold on.
You're just trying to solidify your bank account.
Hold on. Do you don't think Bumgarner is? I'm not saying for first ballot or something. I'm talking. You don't think he's a Hall of Famer?
All right. I always thought Harold Baines, when I was a kid, was going to be a Hall of Famer. And again, not like, or Alan Trammell. Those guys were people I thought were Hall of Famers. If you ask me today if I think by the time he's 45 will be a Hall of Famer, I'll say yes, but he's 31. I mean, he's got some work to do. If Thurman Munson and Don Mattingly aren't in the Hall of Fame at this point. I don't know that Bumgarner or Kershaw has done enough in the short. I'm just saying. There's like a 10 or 12 year standard that isn't listed anywhere, but that's sort of what they're working off of. So I don't know.
The way I look at it from my perspective, and everyone has their own, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I am a little bit. Were you one of the best players in your league during your time?
He's definitely one of the best pitchers.
Was he one of the best pitchers the last 10 years? Yep. Was he one of the best pitchers?
Yes.
In baseball?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
So listen, I thought Larry Walker was a surefire Hall of Famer.
Really?
You're looking at me like I'm nuts. Go get his baseball card, flip it around, and you're like, oh my God.
We already do that in general.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying, though. I thought he was a Hall of Famer. I thought Ivan Calderon was a Hall of Famer. Like, those are, again, I thought they were fringy guys. But again, you play for 15, 16 years and you hit 380, 400 home runs. I'm like, yeah.
See, that's
Dale Murphy,
and
yeah. Fred McGriff, yes.
And I'll say something. I don't think Jeter gets 100%. I don't think he's deserving of 100%.
I don't think anybody deserves 100%, except for Mariano. I think he was the rare exception. It was deserving because you know what? That is a new job.
He could have been the MVP for the Yankees every year.
Mike Trout should be 100%.
But this closer gig, it's new.
Yes.
What these, the Reggie Smith and Goose. That was a different breed. This is the Trevor Hoffman, Billy Wagner, Mariano. That's a different breed of reliever, and Mariano is the greatest one in the 20 years since that's been the guy.
And then he had the numbers and the World Series to back it up.
Right.
And the way I look at it is Jeter doesn't really have. Well, that's actually really bad. I was gonna say he doesn't really have Hall of Fame, but he does. I mean, he's got
because he doesn't have 500 home runs.
Well, see, the problem is, if you're not a Yankee fan.
No, Rafael Palmeiro does.
No,
and a 300 average, and where's he?
He does, but here's the way I look at it. When I look at
no one's seen him in a long time.
If I wasn't a Yankee fan, right? Did I ever consider Jeter one of the best players in baseball during his time?
You should have.
Funny story.
You should have.
Why
do you not? You should have.
So let me say this. I love Derek Jeter, and
but I also think if Jeter was playing for Tampa Bay or the Rangers, he wouldn't be, and he wouldn't have the same.
Probably not.
Because being a New York Yankee.
Well, he wouldn't have the World Series. I know that, but if you're a great player, you're a great player.
The beef between A-Rod and Jeter.
I used to be a big A-Rod guy.
Me too. And I was a little upset, and then I thought about what he said, and I'm like, well, no, you planned for Bernie, you planned for Paulie, you're planning for Tino. You're not really. No one's like, don't let Jeter beat you. Jeter will beat you, but that's not. You're not thinking Jeter's going to beat you.
I don't look at him in the same way I do other Hall of Famers. Now,
why? Because he didn't have 500 home runs.
But he's definitely a Hall of Famer.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, the fourth most hits in history.
I bet he gets like 98%. 98%.
I want to ask you a question. Why do you not consider him one of those guys? Because he didn't hit 500 or 600 home runs?
It has nothing to do with the home
runs. But why does
Cal
it then?
Ripken got 98% of the vote. I think if Jeter and Griffey got 98 or 99, if you're up in the 98, 99, shut up. Like six guys said no, you're fine.
Then why is he? Why, honestly?
Because I look.
Why?
I think stupidly talented.
Home runs.
Definitely
home runs. In an era where shortstops were ripping 30 a year, Jeter's best was 24.
I think analytically he wasn't that great of a defensive
and he was
shortstop.
not. Well, that's true too.
If he
had shortcomings.
But
again, here's the thing. Analytics doesn't measure the intangibles. It doesn't measure, his face into the seats or the flip, the toss, right? It doesn't factor any of those things in. That's the eye test I talk about, where people are like, but the analytics, well, no, and yes, the analytics will definitely tell you what.
But he has all the moments,
but those extra things,
and the clutch things.
I mean, just the way Jeter finished his career at Yankee Stadium, the game-winning single to the right side. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame, because that's what Derek Jeter always did. The homer in '96, the homer against the Diamondbacks. The guy had the flair for the dramatic. That's why he's a Hall of Famer, and he did it in New York, and he did it for 20 years.
The biggest stage.
That's why and the championships. That's the reason why he's a Hall of Famer.
See,
but he did have some shortcomings.
I talked about it.
For sure.
I talked about it in the NFL with that. That's when you get remembered. You get remembered for the clutch moments. Kirk Cousins.
It's why Eli will be in the Hall of Fame. Two biggest moments in Giants history, two of the biggest moments in Super Bowl history during
clutch.
a 20-year reign of the Patriots. He came up big. And again, I hear people all the time talk about it was the defense that led those teams. Yeah, but who walked off with the MVP? Wasn't Michael Strahan? Wasn't Justin Tuck?
Here's the other thing.
It was Eli.
When the Giants were down 14-10, who led them down to score? It was Eli Manning.
Right.
Now, I know you could say the defense put them in the position to be, but you still need the quarterback to drive them down the field and score the touchdown.
They gave him the MVP for a reason.
And here's the thing. As much as we've talked about teams with defense this year, what did we talk about today? With quarterbacks, with the Cowboys, with the Eagles, with the Vikings, with all these teams. Can the quarterback be the difference maker to get them over the hump? Can Kirk Cousins prove that the Minnesota Vikings are an actual Super Bowl caliber
And that's
team?
what, like Joe just said, what you get remembered for the moments in the postseason. That's where you get your.
Kirk Cousins remembered to being 0-8 on Monday Night Football.
Let me say this real quick, too. I mentioned Thurman Munson a minute ago, and I think it's an unbelievable miscarriage of justice. Everything that Thurman Munson did, and if you look at all the Thurman Munsons, especially in light of, and I like Ted Simmons a lot, and I'm glad I thought Ted Simmons was a Hall of Famer. I really did. He's in my pile of Hall of Famers. But if he's in there, if Alan Trammell and Harold Baines are in there, how are you going to say a two-time World Series champion, an MVP in 1976, a Rookie of the Year, a guy whose career got cut short? You made an exception for Kirby Puckett because the numbers were there. The championships were there. Same thing with Thurman, and Thurman's postseason numbers are immaculate. It's stunning, and it speaks to the New York bias.
And if he didn't have that unfortunate accident, he'd be clearly a Hall.
It also ruined the Yankees into the early 80s because they never quite made the adjustment. I loved Rick Cerone, but Rick Cerone was not even close to Thurman after 1980 and until 84, 85 when Butch Wanderger. That's why those early 80 Yankee teams were so bad, because that's what an impact Thurman had on a really. I mean, you're talking about from 76 to 81. It was one of the best teams in baseball. Eventually, Rick Cerone got hurt, and then the Yankees started to go downhill, and it was a shame.
I got one more question for you.
Go ahead.
Well, we've seen all the big moves so far, but it seems like it's been quiet for certain teams. Like, which big-name team needs to make a move now? And I feel like the Red Sox are the only team that's making a move that could be with Mookie. I think
Houston's got to do something to make up for losing Cole.
What about the Dodgers?
Losing out on Rendon,
losing out on Rendon, losing out on Cole, the two big guys.
What's wrong with the Dodgers now?
I think it's the same issue that they had last year, the bullpen.
Sure, but they added pieces to the bullpen and they still didn't get there.
I don't think good enough pieces.
Well, who's available?
Betances.
There you go.
Maybe, and when the reason why I say
but
that,
I haven't heard them linked to his name at all.
I think they need to add another.
I'm just saying
pitcher.
He's the type of guy. The way
probably
we look at it, and I'm going to take it from a Yankee perspective. That a guy that like you put him on the Dodgers or like the Phillies or the Nationals or a team that's close, or even the Houston Nationals, a guy that could take them over the hump to where like, all right, you're good, and now you got if you're the Dodgers, right? You got Kelly Jansen, who's one of the best closers in baseball, but he struggled mightily last year. Mm-hmm. But now you bring in Betances. Now you got it. Now you got that guy where, God forbid, Kelly Jansen has an injury or starts falling. You had a guy that knows how to pitch in the ninth inning, knows how to pitch in big moments, and pitch in the biggest market in baseball.
So you would say,
for me, the two biggest things is the Dodgers and the Red Sox. One, what will the Red Sox do with Mookie Betts' contract, and will they trade him before this beginning?
Who would have thought a year ago we would have thought they would guarantee he was getting a contract.
The two names
a
you're
year
hearing
later
about the Red
they might
Sox,
be trading him.
The two names you're hearing is David Price. They're trying to get off the books, and they're trying to get Mookie
No, we
Betts.
can't lose David Price, the greatest Yankee pitcher of all time.
So David Price and Mookie Betts. So and then that's not to gain, but to do whatever they need to do to get their contract and to rebuild their farm system. And for the Dodgers, I think I got to say the Dodgers, because here's the thing. When you've been in the position, they have been the best team in the NL for the last 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, correctly, and they've been in the World Series 3 times, and you've not won the World Series. I mean, how long are we going to continue this phony show until it's like, all right, I had enough?
See, I disagree with that. Because,
but if you're a Dodgers fan, right, Joe?
The National League is not as good as the American League.
No, I know that, but the Dodgers,
why haven't they been able to win?
The AL's been better.
The AL's been better.
I mean, the Dodgers.
You went up against a
were,
really good Astros team, a really good Red Sox team.
but they were historic that year. When they lost to the Astros that year, they were historic. Historically good for their standards.
I think if you're the Dodgers, I think you look to add a piece or two. You look at that team as stacked. I don't think they have to do anything major. The Red Sox, I think, have serious issues. I think they're going to make a blockbuster trade. It's going to be one of those guys.
I'm laughing because I was thinking about the Dodgers. They've lost to the last 3 World Series champions. The Nationals, they had the lead. They had the lead and they blew it the last 2 games. And I say blow it because when you have the lead and you go back to your home stadium.
What you said. I like what he said.
I'll let you finish. Sorry, Joe.
No. I like what he said before any of this ever happened. When we were talking about
the Astros?
Yeah.
All right, let me go. Right, Anaheim has added some pitchers, added Rendon.
The Anaheim Angels are back?
Texas. Hold on. Texas brought in Kluber. The A's are always the A's. Houston lost the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, and
Facts.
And I've heard Texas is linked up to, because they have the farm system, to Lindor. I saw that, so that's a possible thing. And they've already made the deal with Kluber. I saw that. So you don't know. And like you said, the Angels, they just found out that Shohei Ohtani is going to be able to pitch this season. So that at least is going to help the pitchers.
Pretty much.
And listen, if they can make another move, they can bring in the guy Raul.
They just signed Tehran. Did you see that?
I did.
Well,
look, they got 2 really good innings eaters in him and Dylan Bundy. Yep. So, again, I think if you're Houston, you see the Yankees just got significantly better. Now they've got the best rotation of baseball. You see Texas making moves. You see Anaheim making moves. And they're not great moves, but they're moves nonetheless. If you're Houston, you got to add something. You got to do something.
That's what I'm going to
Because also, what's their kid? Whitley, their top pitching prospect.
For the Angels?
No. Houston, the Astros. Forrest Whitley, is that the kid's name?
I think it was, and they didn't want to trade him last year. Greinke, that was like one of the things.
He really didn't have a great year.
But they also are going to get who are they?
Some concern about him.
Though they are getting Lance McCullers back from Tommy John surgery.
God,
who was
he's
out
still on
last
the
year.
team. I forgot.
But now, see, this is a funny story because Severino comes back, and what did we all say? Well, we just don't know what he's going to be like, even though we did, and he was.
But we could be critical because we're Yankee fans.
Right, sure, but it's easy to do. McCullers come back and win 15, 17 games.
We'll be good.
What? Maybe he does the Patanches, 8 pitches, and he's gone again. Again, we always do this. I say this all the time, especially to Steve Risser. When it comes to Kershaw and Bumgarner, they come off the IL for a month or 2, and you're like, hey, he's going to go out and throw 8 tonight. Severino is up, and you're like, well, who knows? Maybe he'll
might have to get the bullpen in the
He'll
fight.
be throwing about 75 miles an hour. Like, get out of here. Come on.
I just think because we're fans of the teams, we're more highly critical. But
we shouldn't be.
Because me and Trev have got this argument. I'm more highly critical of Eli than I am of a quarterback. But I can be, and I feel like it because I'm a Giant fan. I watch Giants football every Sunday.
Right.
I don't watch like Dallas and Dak. I don't watch Kirk Cousins and the Vikings every week. So I can't be highly critical because at the end of the day, I can give 2 hoots about what they do on their Sunday. What I care about is my football.
I'm not critical of Eli because plain simple.
But I can be.
Look, the last. May I make one more point about Eli? By the way, if he was Eli Jenkins or Eli Smith,
you're 100%
and not
right.
a Manning,
you
would look back on that guy's career and be like, he was amazing.
Here's the other thing,
but you're always going to hold him up to his father and his brother, and it's not
better than
fair
his father
because but his father played in a different era anyway, and his brother was
top 5 quarterback
one of the greatest of all time, and that doesn't mean that Eli's not. Different job, different place.
Who has been? I know that I'm not even going to say the winners because I think the obvious winners for the winter meetings in the MLB so far are the Yankees and Angels. Well, who's been the biggest loser so far in the offseason?
Yeah,
when you lose the best pitcher in baseball, absolutely. Now, I don't know if you guys read, it's really going to come down to the Nats and the Braves for Josh Donaldson. Now, it looks like the Nats are willing to fork.
Nats have to because they just lost.
They don't have to.
Well, it'd be nice to get. I mean, losing Rendon, you lose a top player like that.
Well, here's the thing: you get Donaldson, you take it away from the Braves, you take it away against your rival.
Yeah,
and you're making your team better, and you're filling a void.
That's a win-win-win.
And it's kind of like what we said with the Yankees. You're taking away against your greatest rival in the AL, and that's the Astros, the team that's knocked you out of 2 playoff series.
Yeah,
right.
Terrible.
And you're gaining the best pitcher, and you're making your team even better.
I'm surprised the Phillies haven't been more active.
I heard they're after Patanches.
They should be, but they need starting pitching. They need a lot of things in Philly. I would have thought Philly would have been more.
They should take J.A. Happ as well, too, and make it just even more another Yankee player on the team, you know? Why not?
You
got Rothschild, you got Didi, you got Girardi.
Well, listen, there's still...
come on, maybe get Betances and J.A.
there's still
Happ.
a lot of guys out there. Keiko's still out there. Listen, there's still a lot of guys to be signed out there. And you got to wait till spring training because things are going...
I'll be honest with you. I think between now and January, February... I think it's going to be more trades than guys getting signed. Because if you look at who the top guys were, I'm looking up Trevor Cahill, Rich Hill, Colin McHugh. Are these are free agents that are available? I realize those are relievers, but the pitchers right now, it's Keuchel. It's nobody who I'm like, oh, got to get that guy. There's no more game changers. So I think if you're the Angels or Houston or one of those, the Dodgers looking to add guys, there's not a lot left. I think what teams are going to start looking to do is, especially teams that have minor league talent that can make, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more trades where, like Lindor, where you got a guy who's 2 years away from free agency. That's when you want to move him because, like you said, it's a kind of a 2-year rental before you can't re-sign the guy either. I might as well get something for him now. I think you're going to see a bunch of. I would predict 3 of those moves between now and February 1st.
That's why I think you're wrong on that with the farm system and the trades because of I think these teams are going to emphasize the farm system more. Where you've seen teams like the Yankees at one point had no farm system.
Sure,
the Red Sox now have to go back and trade these big pieces because of the factor that they don't have no farm system anymore. I
don't like prospect hoarding. I think it's stupid.
No, that's true.
And if you look at the Yankees over the last 4 or 5 years, name one guy that the Yankees have traded that they regret moving.
No one.
Not one of them.
No.
Not one of them has panned out. So for everybody who's like, I wouldn't give up Deivi Garcia. First of all, you've never seen Deivi Garcia pitch.
I have never seen him.
You've watched like a video of him strike out 3 guys. You've never seen him pitch. You don't know anything about him. You didn't see the scouting report. You don't know how badly he pitched when he got to AAA. You're just saying stuff because you don't know, and that's fine. I'm telling you, if a team really values your prospect and you're like, move him. Yeah. You look at the Yankees had to bite the bullet on Chance Adams. They could have moved this kid 3 years ago. And don't tell me the Yankees didn't know he didn't have the right makeup. Because we know the Yankees have, for years, overhyping prospects.
Yep.
We could go through the list of them. They've all been busts.
Other than Judge.
Sanchez, Kluber, and Andujar, they really...
Yeah.
It's been few and far between. David Robertson is one of the rare Yankee pitchers to come out of that system and still be in baseball.
I can't think of many guys, though, in farm systems that have been traded. They're like,
we might see, here's the thing.
You know what I mean? You want guys, like we talk about this in the NFL.
Who'd the White Sox get for Chris Sale?
Mancada.
Other than Mancada, what else did they get in that deal? Nothing else that became anything.
And the thing is, you want guys that you know that are already playing the major leagues that can already produce. Because who cares what they do in the farm system, what's their potential? You say it all the time. What does potential get you? Fired. You want to know what...
Don't move Estevan Florial. He's the best 19-year-old at like half-season A-ball. Shut up.
Can I tell you one thing?
We might view that as these farm system players as, why if they're still not up after year 5, then what makes us believe we're going to be excited? They might think differently, though. That's why they might want to still keep these guys, and that's why I don't see many trades happening this offseason because I just think these guys...
I think you're going to be very surprised because, listen, teams no longer...
I agree with you because
they no longer value the 32-year-old veteran because that guy costs $12 million a year. People don't want those guys anymore. Those guys are, and we saw Keuchel and Kimbrel couldn't get jobs, and there's a reason for that. Teams don't value veteran players anymore.
Contract control.
Yes. That is so desirable at this point. A guy like Clint Frazier, Clint Frazier is going to be moved by the Yankees this offseason, 100% guaranteed. It does nothing for the Yankees to keep him at AAA anymore. Nope. There's no space for him on the big league roster. The only thing that could happen at this point is another injury where he misses a season.
And then his trade value goes down.
Correct. Now, which has already happened.
Now, I'll just finish on this last note. The only reason why I disagree with your point where you don't see trades is because You want to make the trades now so that when spring training comes, you can start setting your rosters and your control. Because if you wait, you're not going to know who. If you trade Mookie Betts, right, between that time in February, you now know, okay, I got this off the payroll, and now I know I can go get these free agents. But the Red Sox can't go say, I want to get this guy, this guy, and this guy. Now, they're not going to be a lot of money, but I can't put these guys on the payroll until I know I'm going to get this guy
I'm
off.
saying, but other guys, other than like Mookie or Lindor, I don't see a lot of trades
I don't see the
happening. That's my thing. Other than those two big names, I don't see a lot of trades happening. I hear
I don't see a lot of trades either.
Like I hear the Schwarber thing or
That's
the
not
Arenado.
happening.
It's not; those guys are not going to get moved. But Mookie and Lindor are the two guys.
Here's the thing. I mentioned this earlier to you guys. Maybe not even on the show. Maybe it was before when you guys first got here. But John Heyman reported the Yankees called on Nolan Arenado, and there's people that are like, bull boomers. Like, somebody told John Heyman that the Yankees called Colorado. It doesn't mean the conversation went anywhere. It just means that they made a phone call. And why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't you?
You call on everybody.
You do your due diligence.
You call on everybody. These guys are all sitting there at the winter meetings. What do you think? They're not talking? Hey, any chance you might move Arenado? Call me later. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
You know?
Let's just discuss.
Sure. And I'm sure the conversation went, well, what do you want for an Arenado, right? They were like Glaber and Andujar. And like, never mind.
But you ask.
But you ask. And now we know.
Discussion.
Now we know, and then we moved on. And then they went out at dinner.
That's why they call it discussions.
That's what they're doing. So the idea, if you think there's reporters, and I'm not talking about the idiots on Twitter like, I have a source. You don't have a source. But if Ian Rappaport or
Jeff Passan now or
Passan,
AJ Wojnarowski,
when those guys tell you
yes.
that teams are talking, they're talking. Does it mean it's going to go anywhere? Yes. No. And this is the time of the year. What do you think GMs do? Do you think that from November to April, they're like, well, call me if you need anything?
Well, maybe Cashman is.
Well, Cashman could take the rest of the year off because he's already killed it. But, I mean, again, these guys are working the phones all year round. When you hear that there's rumors, believe me, there's some legs to it. Whether it gets off the ground or not, you're making calls, you're kicking tires. What does it take to get Arenado? Severino and Glaber. Never mind.
Have a good day.
And
just wanted to know.
And you start the conversation now that you might call him in a month and say, hey, listen, any changes? You get any better offers?
That's why it's called.
Sure. When the Rockies are 30 games under 500 at the break, maybe suddenly, maybe the price changes.
That's why they call it discussions.
That's what you're doing.
Joseph, as always, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I said miss you. I want to wish you. I miss you.
And I miss you too. Happy holidays to you and yours.
Yes, of course.
We say Merry Christmas on this show.
I know you do.
I'd
just like to get everybody's go. I've had so many people wish me a Merry Christmas, and I'm like, and happy holidays to you. Just rubs their craw. I love it.
To your family, Merry Christmas.
Same to you, and of course to your dad, who I love, Mr. Keys.
Of course. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'll give him a Merry Christmas.
Oh, my God. We'll be back next week, 2020.
No, it's a week before.
Oh, crap.
Come on, don't forget. You already jumping the gun. Next week will be a great show. I mean, we got the decade in review. I mean, it's the decade in review.
Yeah.
Not for nothing. We're about a day or two away from where you forget between now and the 30th. You have no idea what day of the week it is or what number day it is.
The year of the decade is coming to an end, and that's what we'll talk about, a year of review. It's not year in review. It's a decade in review. And we'll see who wins that NFC East battle as well. Who's going to be the NFC East champs after this week? We don't know what's going to happen. The NFL, it's getting good. Enjoy it. From the Keys to the City family, everybody, Merry Christmas, and have a wonderful holiday as well.
Get one of them sweatshirts.
You want one?
Everybody should get those. Are awesome.
Like I said, yeah, if you want it, you could try. Just message us. Let us know if you're interested in them. But Merry Christmas to all. Keys to and to all, a good night. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We'll be back next week. See you later, everyone.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we're unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.